When it all comes tumbling down, know that I still want.
Welcome everyone to the first episode of Unrooted Cross Country Edition. And my guest for this week's show is none other than the head coach of the cross country and track and field program here at Menlo College, Dan Noel. Dan, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Pleasure to be here, Brian.
Now, you represent the first individual that I've had the pleasure to interview on two separate occasions over 2 different years. Did you know that?
I didn't, but that makes sense. Track and then cross country. I'm just that lucky to have that much more time with you.
Lucky or unfortunate? I'm not sure which way you want to look at it.
Depends probably on the great mustache debate. Not to bring that up, but...
It's not as great as it was last time we did the French toast interview.
Yes, true.
It was epic
at the time.
Yeah, we set the bar pretty high with that first one, and now, of course, we're going to be playing some Jenga while doing this interview. Am I right?
Yeah, I thought, we'd just keep ourselves occupied while going through. I think, Jenga this time, maybe giant Jenga after that, maybe mic'd up for one of Coach Vic's conditioning sessions. We'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are we going to be able to do to top all of this? I'm not quite sure we have something that will really be able to...
You can't topple it in the first question.
Oh, the steady hand.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Yeah, not bad.
All right, so I see the curly hair is back in action for you. Mm-hmm. I know last time we did an interview, you had mentioned that there was someone who wasn't necessarily happy about that. Why is it back again?
I don't know who the wife's on board.
She is.
She's in favor. I may have misspoke last interview.
Okay.
She's in favor. She and I met in college when I had long hair, and my wife is way out of my league in all possible categories, so the hair was actually what I think enticed her. So now that I have long hair again, she's like, oh yeah, that's why I fell in love with you. That's why I like you. So it's all right in her book. Linda Tischel on campus, though. Linda Tischel, who's kind of the queen of campus, she is not a fan. And
she's not.
Yeah, so the shears might be coming out from Linda at some point.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with Linda because she will actually bring them out.
Right. And Brian, I was clean cut, and then you left for the summer, and I just plunged into depression. I just came into work in sandals every day. I'd cry on Aaron's shoulder. I tried crying on Keith's shoulder, which is it's a big shoulder. It's a great shoulder to cry on, but Aaron just has a little more sympathy. Now that you're back, maybe I could maintain my appearance a little bit better, but you only just came back to us. It was a tough summer.
At least the beard's not unruly.
Yeah, well that, Keith actually held me down, and he took the shears to me on that one, but had to keep some sense of professionalism.
Yeah, at least a little bit, right?
A little bit.
Unlike the handlebars, which has no sense of professionalism whatsoever. Now let's talk about the team a little bit. You're very early into the season, of course. You got just one meet under your belt. Mm-hmm. It was a very, very hot time at the Argonaut Invite a couple of weeks ago. How did you get a feel for your team competing in such a really difficult event off the bat, with the weather factoring in, of course?
I think that the way we approached the Argo Invite was, let's use this as a meet to get our first competition under the belt. We didn't go into that meet with specific expectations in terms of what times people were going to run. We knew the forecast was for high heat, and it's a course that is pretty exposed. It's a historic course. If you're anyone who's run, a little shaky on that one. If you've run cross country in California, then you've most likely run at Crystal Springs. So we're excited for that aspect of it. The heat, we talked to our training staff about what we could do to help. One recommendation they had was actually having cold ice towels there. It's funny because before a race we're like, hey team, we've got these ice towels, and they're like, hey, I'm in race mode, ice towel, forget it. As soon as everyone crossed the line, they were like, ice towel, ice towel. So we were appreciative of their help, and we looked at it more as hey, let's check our first race off and compete hard, but not worry about the times. And I think everyone definitely did that.
It's a new year, of course, so there's going to be a lot of new faces leading the way for Menlo. One face who really stood out in the opener was Noel Boutine. He had a really strong race, led all men in that first invite. He took a really big step towards, I think, making a big improvement from year 1 to year 2. What did you see from him?
Yeah, I agree with the big step, the improvement, and a huge part of that for Noble was his summer training. Noble was 100% committed to his summer training, and in cross country, that's really your do or die. People who progress during their collegiate career progress because they do their summer training. And he was up in Ashland in Oregon. He was working at a running shop. He's training with all these other collegiate or post-collegiate runners. So I think he found a community for himself to train with, train hard, and we're just seeing that in all his workouts. He's Mr. Consistency. So you tell him in a workout, no, we want you to run this time. He's going to come through every time, and he's going to hit that time or 1-2 seconds off it.
And Megan Thompson's graduated on the women's side, so there is a bit of uncertainty as far as who's going to really take the hold as the lead runner for the women's squad. What are your thoughts on that so far? Who's been stepping up in the campaign early on?
Well, Lucrezia Povero ran really well at the Argo Invite. And Lucrezia is someone who, she's a student who's here at Menlo. She's from Italy and grew up having never done cross country or other competitive sports. So cross country and track have really been her first intro to competing, to racing, but competing in any way. And despite the conditions, despite the heat, despite the hills, she competed really well. She's been training hard. Another person who took her summer training really seriously. Rachel Valencia is our top returner from last year. She finished 3rd for us at conference. And her workouts have also been going really well, so we'll be excited to see how she races this weekend. The way we structure the season on the women's side, it's pretty front-loaded. So we have 2 distances that we race in on the women's side, either a 5K or a 6K. So 5K, just over 3 miles, 6K, closer to 4. And it might not sound like a lot, but it's a pretty significant difference. With our season, we'll do 2 6Ks to start the year. So we did Argo 6K, SF State 6K, and then we'll actually finish with 3 5Ks. So I think we're getting the hard work in early, and then hopefully we'll be ready for those shorter races. You seem to be a little nervous.
It's all because of my post workout mode right now.
So I'm a little bit
shaky. I'm still trying to recover from that. Go from working out to work right away. So I'm a little bit unstable right now. So I think you have the edge in this game.
I'll take it.
Although so far I'm holding my own.
You are, yeah. We don't have a lot of torque in the tower yet, so I think it's still anyone's game.
Unfortunately, we're running out of questions here, so we might need to hurry this up a little bit.
Maybe.
Now, there are so many different elements of being a cross-country runner that maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with. Of course, myself, I'm not a professional runner by any stretch.
You could have been.
I could have been. You tried really hard to recruit me.
I'm sorry. Let it go.
Again, that's another story, and that was a few years ago, so you should let it go.
I'm moving on.
So put on your training shoes here a little bit. What would you say are some keys to becoming a better runner, whether it's just competitive or for recreational purposes?
A lot of what's going to make you a better runner is what's going to make you a better athlete. We talked about summer training, so consistency, and consistency not just during the year but during the summer. I would say that holds true even more so for cross country. Your summer is a time that is typically looked at as one to increase your mileage during, and we're a program that takes a progressive approach to mileage, so we don't say, hey, Brian, you're a freshman, come in, you're going to run 100 miles week 1. We want to gradually ramp up your mileage just to keep people healthy and make sure they have the best 4 years competing, not 1. It's going to be a tricky one.
Smart. That's not smart.
Yeah, I don't think you're committed to it. I think you can get another block.
I probably can.
Yeah, I'll let you. I don't know about the rules, but
I don't either.
I'll let you.
Okay.
It's okay.
You're very nice.
Well,
I gotta pick and choose though.
Yeah, you're going to be all right. I mean, cross country is a lot like Jenga. See if I can complete this analogy.
Okay.
A lot of it is sheer determination, knowing you're going to encounter challenges. There are going to be points where you're not sure how you're going to continue and how you're going to execute, but even if you're exhausted after 2 miles, you have 3 more to go, you really have to stay engaged. I think that maybe wrestling is comparable in this sense that in cross country there's going to be a point when you're absolutely exhausted, thank you, and you still have to push. So I think there's the combination of consistency and just that determination and fortitude. And for your everyday runner, it's not dissimilar that if you want to get better as a runner, you're going to need to be consistent, you want to be progressive, you don't want to start out and say, all right, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow, and be determined, understand that you're going to have tough runs and it's still, you still need to be consistent and still be patient, waiting for those gains.
waiting for the gains on this tower right now.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
The fact that that didn't just fall over. You go for the sides, I go for the middle.
Yeah,
Noticing
the
that.
sides, I think you get a little cushion. When it tilts, there's a little kind of air pocket, gives them a little more space.
Well, now we're in trouble right about here. Middle of this tower.
I'm glad. I was worried early that we would be done question one. So this, I think, is at least respectable. I'm sure there are Jenga elitists out there that are questioning our tactics and technique, but this, I think, is a respectable Jenga
We're
tower.
also probably not playing by the rules whatsoever.
There are rules.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
just
kind
don't
of
know
the
what
unrooted specific Jenga edition.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. So meet 2 is coming up next, Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
It's coming up this weekend. Obviously, you want to be better than you were after meet number 1. I mean, that's an obvious goal. But are there any goals that the team has set and maybe the individual runners have set as well?
Yeah, we're going to approach this meet differently on the men's and women's side. So for the men, this is going to be the first weekend of 2 back-to-back races.
All right.
So they'll race at SF State this Friday over the 8K distance, 5 miles. And then next week they'll race at Masters, again, 8K distance, 5 miles. And running at a very high level over that distance, so really high intensity, competitive run over that distance, you need a little more than a week typically to recover. So for most of our men, they're going to go into this race, approach it from more of a workout standpoint. They're going to be racing it, but we'll give them kind of specific tactical goals that we want them to achieve. We're going to have them run as a group primarily. We have a lot of freshmen running, so we're going to group those guys up. That's something that I didn't mention in terms of what does it take to be successful in cross country. Part of that is understanding you're running for your team, not just for yourself. So we're going to really focus on that this weekend. Noble will be the exception. We're going to kind of unleash him this weekend. He's been training great. He's handling higher volume, so we think he'll be ready to go. And we're excited because you don't have a lot of statistics necessarily to compare in cross country, but you can compare within courses.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what Noble ran last year, and we're excited to see what he can run this year. On the women's side, we're going to unleash him, let him race. I think we'll still have time to recover before next week. SF State is the Golden Gate Park invite hosted by SF State. It's a great meet. There'll be about 230, 250 runners each gender, and it's very spectator friendly. So if there are any locals, anyone on campus who want to come see a great cross country meet, it's a really good opportunity to see what cross country is about. And you're going to be surprised it's not at a meet like this, a course like this, the setup is not that they start and then they come back however many minutes later and they finish. It's more they start and then you see them and then you see them again and then they loop and you see them again. So on this course we'll see our athletes at least half a dozen times. And that's just, it's a fun environment as a spectator, and obviously having the more support there just helps the team, especially when you get to that exhaustion point. Is that my turn?
It is your turn.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
I've been waiting for you. Oh my goodness. Impressive. Okay, so now for those local spectators who might want to come out, what time does it begin?
So there are 2 races that are in the afternoon.
Ooh, perfect. That's great for a lot of people.
Right.
Because Saturday, no one's going to want to wake up.
Friday.
Friday, never mind. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, so you just have to take off work, no big deal.
Okay, yeah.
2 races in the afternoon. The women's race will be at 3:30, and the men's race will be at 4:15.
Even better.
Mm-hmm.
Even better. All right, let's get into the final segment of the show. It's called Brownie Bites. I'm glad we've made it this long.
We made it
Now it's going to start to fall apart.
so far.
Question number 1. Which athlete that you coach would make the worst old school retro gamer?
Wow, so I just have to crush their soul on camera here,
Yeah.
on all of your unrooted followers. Are going to never invite them to play regular Nintendo.
Yeah.
Can I say who I think would be the best?
And then you have to say who's the worst.
Okay, well, I'll start with the best.
All right.
So Garrick Lee, he's a transfer. He's redshirting for us this season. He'll be competing for us in track. Don't knock it over. He is one of our older athletes, and so I think that he would have experience on multiple older consoles. So I'm going to give him the edge in the best category. In the worst category, Ann, I'm sorry. I'm going to say Ann Darwall. Ann, there are a great many things that we love Ann for. She is compassionate and an amazing teammate, wonderful listener. Despite all those amazing qualities, I do not have the most faith in her video gaming ability. And Ann, I hope you can forgive me for this. He made me do it.
You answered though.
Yeah, I'm going the doble.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I just, you're taking your time there, try to be gentle, but it's time to go.
I don't know if I can do that. Question number 2, which athlete gets the biggest crash from eating too much sugar? Now, obviously, sports performance doesn't want your athletes. But if. That's the key
in
here.
theory. I don't know if we've seen too many sugar-specific
not happening.
crashes. I will say that
Why are they?
one of our freshmen, he'll go unnamed here, but one of our freshmen, we have been working with him on what days to experiment with decaf food and what days to stay consistent with what food you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we have hard workout days and we have easy recovery runs, and we had a pattern that was emerging during which he would, try this breakfast sausage combination with everything else on hard workout days, and it wasn't that the food wasn't good for him it just wasn't settling for him in the right way. So we've talked to him about, if we're gonna mess around with trying new things at the calf, let's do that on our easy recovery runs. So I don't know if that quite answers your question, but
it's good enough.
Yeah,
it's good
general.
enough. I knew you were gonna go for that second one down there. Oh! I didn't lose!
Oh, I was overconfident. I could have just taken one.
See, and that was gonna be the next one I went for. It was down there, but you saved it from me, so I don't have to look like a loser here.
I think there's a life lesson here, which is that it was my confidence, my overconfidence, that really got me there. If I had just executed the plan, which was one tile, played by the rules, executed, not tried to showboat in front of all your Unrooted followers, then you would have gone for that one.
And I would have lost.
And now I'm plunged back into my summer depression.
I'm the undefeated two-time champion. Now, I wish you could have seen it before we went live here. Kaniela Iona, the head men's basketball coach, came in and he saw the tower and he just walked right up, poked out one of the middle ones and put it on top. It was one of the most confident moves I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, pretty amazing dude, just generally, let's be honest.
I can't wait till we get him on the show.
Yeah.
Coming up in basketball season, just wait a few more months or so. All right, we only got one more question, so this is great. And I guess it's fitting now that the Jenga tower has been knocked down. Who would make the best and worst Jenga player?
Oh! Well, I just made an argument for myself as the worst. Worst Jenga player on the cross-country team. I don't know. He could go either way. Ethan Adams, he's one of our freshmen. I could see him being very focused and determined when playing Jenga. I could also see him being a little too high energy. And he would definitely make a move like I made. Like, I'm going for 2. So I sympathize with you, Ethan. I'm going to say worst, but we can bring it out to practice and try. Best Jenga player, Dorian Aberett. Dorian is just very methodical.
She is.
And she's very reasoned. So she would analyze the Jenga tower, determine which Jenga piece was most vulnerable to her assault, and patiently, systematically remove that tile.
So like me.
I do not know that that's an accurate comparison. I don't have a leg to stand on. You are our Jenga champion, so I salute you.
John Surface would be proud right now.
It's true.
Although this isn't giant Jenga, but
Next time.
I can translate those skills over to the next one. Dan, thanks so much for joining me on the show and losing to me in Jenga. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Half of it. It was a pleasure.
Fans, cross-country season's in full swing, and there is a meet this week. Again, it's in the Bay Area on the 22nd, the San Francisco State Invitational. It's at Golden Gate Park in the city. Men's and women's teams competing. It begins at 3:30, and then they're in action again the next week when they head down to Central Park in Santa Clarita for the Masters University Cross Country Invite. That one set to begin on September 30th. We invite you to tune in next week's show. Head coach Dan Noel will select the first student athlete to be interviewed by me, Brian Brownfield, on Unrooted Cross Country Edition, and maybe I can beat someone else at Jenga as well.
Happy running, everybody.
Until then, we'll see you next week, and take care.
When it